Scientists predict the end of our world in the year 2041, because this hyperbola I calculated, there's a singularity at 2041. Well, my reply was exactly that I did not say, because in our world nothing can get infinite. But it means the only thing I can predict that we will not reach infinity at any finite time. But on the other hand, if we are close to a singularity, we'll get fluctuations, and only by those fluctuations, and they will become larger and larger, we will prevent infinity. And we see that already. We have catastrophes in the world, and if you look at Africa or other places in the world, it is really something we should think about. And this is an unsolved problem. And I don't think you can solve the problem without science. In other words, many people come to the conclusion saying, well, we have done too much in science and that caused all this trouble to us. That's not true. That's not true. Only with science we can prevent trouble. We are so dependent on civilization now that without it, that would be the end.
The flying platform which you see here is an advanced model developed after 8 years of planning. These tests were made with military use in mind naturally. A low-level reconnaissance craft of this sort can be of great help to the Army.
every nicotine product, old cart product, switch to flour. It's healthy time.
They ain't take too long. Illuminati, man.
What'd you say, Coop?
This bitch ass nigga boy. Look at this bitch ass nigga boy. Hey, niggas not ready though. Fucking all. Look at the products, little bitty bitch. Alright, y'all. I'm finna sell my soul. I'm gonna hit y'all when I'm through. I'm gonna be rich as hell. Alright.
We have been affecting the environment in major ways. We still are doing it. And for this reason, I propose that we really have started a new geological era, which I have called the Anthropocene.
I would like to mention that phosphorus is probably the most dangerous of the various impacts on our environment and also agriculture. With the reduced availability of phosphorus, we can simply not produce enough. Interdisciplinary research should be emphasized to get more and more scientists involved, and so they bring the message forward with the help of journalists and so on.
Is there any advice you'd like to give to the delegates of the Third Sustainable Phosphorus Summit?
Yes, propagate the knowledge, improve the knowledge, and get in touch with politicians, which is starting to happen, but certainly not efficiently enough.
So if in the future we clean up, we take out the air pollution in the atmosphere, we pay it with a price, it gets warmer, the climate heating is going up. So this is a real dilemma we have to face, and it only strengthens the case for more control on the emissions of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. There's new and stronger evidence that most of the warming observed over the past 50 years is attributable to human activities. rise in, mostly responsible for the rise in temperatures over the Earth, which has been about 0.6 to 0.7 degrees Celsius since pre-industrial time. So maybe half of that was due for the most recent temperature increases. Should put all our efforts into reducing the release of the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And of course, in the first place, carbon dioxide. But to do that, in order to reach a stabilization of the methane or the CO2 concentration in the atmosphere, we would have to reduce the current emissions by mankind by more than 60%. We should not believe that nature comes to our rescue. We cannot believe that if temperatures increase, climate temperature increases in the atmosphere, that nature will counteract this in some way. Companies which will use the least energy to produce what they do will be in charge in the future. So if we simply have to put a price on the environment. When we destroy, when a factory or an activity has a negative effect on the environment, then they should pay for it. And if that is done, the pocket money is always a very strong argument. So better technology is absolutely the solution, and development of alternative energy. So we should put a price on nature.
So do you think that it's okay for the environment that the oil prices are going up?
I think it's a good thing, yes. Because you start thinking about these things, and maybe you let your car unused, or you even get rid of your car. There are lots of wonderful things we have achieved with science, but we also, of course, have produced an atom bomb and weapons which nature never would have produced. So that I can well understand when people say let's stop doing science. On the other hand, I think we cannot. I mean, our brain is just so constructed that we have to discover new things. And then the question is, what do we do with these new things? I don't think it is possible to forbid doing science. I mean, it's so against our nature. I mean, humankind is such that it has to invent new things. Otherwise, it's not very happy. The integrity of the scientific method should be retained. Otherwise, if that doesn't work, then nothing works.
It takes longer than this high-speed video suggests, but the house emerging from a grassy hillside in the Czech countryside is putting a new spin on environmentally responsible living. Built by engineer Bohumil Lahuta, the unique abode can be rotated to face whatever direction he chooses. During the daytime, he can spin the house on its axis to make the most of the natural light and warmth from the sun. But if it gets too hot, Lahuta's solution is to lower the house into the hillside, where the temperature remains stable at around 5 degrees Celsius. The house is located about 100 kilometers northeast of Prague. It took over 20 years to complete, with Lahuta conceding it was a labor of love to get it built.
Ta výstavba samozřejmě by netrvala tak dlouho, kdyby se neprováděla svá pomoc.
Specialist engineers would have built this house much quicker than me doing it by myself. I would have been glad if someone had plucked up some courage and assigned the project to some professional firm to build it properly and quickly.
It may have taken a long time to finish, but as environmentally responsible buildings evolve, this house offers more than one new perspective on sustainable living, while turning heads at the same time.
Africa is a continent of great opportunity in industrialization process in a variety of sectors. This continent is rich in the critical minerals that will drive business success in the 21st century. The continent has resources of lithium, vanadium, cobalt, platinum, palladium, nickel, copper, rare earth minerals, rhodium, and many others. And these are the minerals that abound and are driving economic activity across the world. African countries have made it clear that the investors of choice are those who will come and invest in our continent, but also process the resources here, close to source, so that African countries do not export rock and sand, but export finished products as we would like to do.
But ironically, the latest product of that way of doing things is a new instrument, a new system that, while it could make conformity more rigid, more totalitarian than ever before in history, could also blow everything wide open. Because with it, we could operate on the basis that values and standards and ethics and facts and truth all depend on what your view of the world is, and that there may be as many views of that as there are people. And with this capable of keeping a tally on those millions of opinions voiced electronically, we might be able to lift the limitations of conforming to any centralized representational form of government, originally invented because there was no way for everybody's voice to be heard. We might be able to give everybody unhindered, untested access to knowledge, because a computer would do the day-to-day work for which we once qualified the select few in an educational system originally designed for a world where only the few could be taught. You might end the regimentation of people living and working in vast, unmanageable cities, uniting them instead in an electronic community where the Himalayas and Manhattan were only a split second apart. We might, with that and much more, break the mold that has held us back since the beginning. In a future world that we would describe as balanced anarchy, and they will describe as an open society, tolerant of every view, aware that there is no single privileged way of doing things. Above all, able to do away with the greatest tragedy of our era, the centuries-old waste of human talent that we couldn't or wouldn't use. Utopia? Why? If, as I've said all along, the universe is at any time what you say it is, then say.
And of course, one can easily distinguish between the natural disasters and the human-made disasters. And it turned out that many of the disasters are actually human-made, even those that look entirely as being nature-produced, they are actually human-made. From one extreme, where of course a number of social innovations would help us to reduce the effect of earthquake, of tsunamis, and so on, to those which really fall into the category of the sin of omissions. We do know that we are exposed to the possible hit of various celestial bodies, and yet we know very little about that. So all of that would indicate actually, okay, we need more knowledge, And for somebody who is a scientist, this is actually exactly what one wants to hear. Invest more in R&D, build university, build research centers, and this is what we should do. Characteristic of the present world are two things. One is extremely rapid changes, and the other is that we are all connected. Actually, it comes under the name globalization. It is really the fact that we do depend on the events which happen in the rather distant area, and we do depend on these events rather promptly. And this is some of the characteristics. I believe what prompted this fact that we change, and we change the world in which we live, presumably prompted Paul Crutzen, who was at the same time one of the founding fathers of the Academia Europea back in 1988, and now also a fellow of the World Academy, to introduce, I believe, actually about almost 10 years ago, the concept of Anthropocene. And that, of course, is a very important subject, and the title of my talk is the question of limits to the Anthropocene. There is nothing which can solve the problem of all of the world, though all of the problems we have, starting from the question of unemployment in a single country, are global. So everything is global, but the solutions have to take into account at the same time the global and a very local, less than a country, and realize this. And of course what we have all there is a question of governance. And in my opinion, governance is by far the weakest point that we have. It's something that has to be addressed very carefully, because the change that we are undergoing now, in my view, is a considerably greater change than all the revolutions that we had in the history of mankind, because this is the really true global revolution with everything which is happening. And governance needs something to take into account. It cannot be solved just by global governance, but it has to have components of the global governance. It has to have the subsidiarity principle built in. It has to have full understanding of what is happening at a very local level. The most important thing, presumably, is as much true democracy as, not as much, but more and more of true democracy. This is the only solution. It is not just a question of the elections, it is the question of checks and balances, and more than anything, is the question of integration between governance, knowledge, wisdom, and creativity of human beings, of all of currently 7 billion, and within a short time span, 9 billion of us. Realizing, of course, that demography itself a specific pattern, and according to many projections, within 100 years we will be falling from these 9 billions down to something of few billions.
Losing my future is not like losing an election or a few points on the stock market. I am here to speak for all generations to come. I am here to speak on behalf of the starving children around the world whose cries go unheard. I am here to speak for the countless animals dying across this planet because they have nowhere left to go. I am afraid to go out in the sun now because of the holes in our ozone. I am afraid to breathe the air because I don't know what chemicals are in it. I used to go fishing in Vancouver, my home, with my dad, until just a few years ago we found the fish full of cancers. And now we hear of animals and plants going extinct every day, vanishing forever. In my life, I have dreamt of seeing the great herds of wild animals, jungles and rainforests full of birds and butterflies. But now I wonder if they will even exist for my children to see. Did you have to worry of these things when you were my age? All this is happening before our eyes, and yet we act as if we have all the time we want and all the solutions. I'm only a child, and I don't have all the solutions. But I want you to realize, neither do you. You don't know how to fix the holes in our ozone layer. You don't know how to bring the salmon back up in a dead stream. You don't know how to bring back an animal now extinct. And you can't bring back the forest that once grew where there is now a desert. If you don't know how to fix it, please stop breaking it. Here, you may be delegates of your government, business people, organizers, reporters, or politicians, but really, your mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, aunts and uncles, and all of you